um, Crazy story came out yesterday morning. There's already been additional developments, but I'm going to share this with those of you who may not be so inundated with news. But there are two men who have been criminally charged with impersonating Department of Homeland Security law enforcement agents in Washington, D.C. They offered to give an assault rifle worth $2,000 to a U.S. Secret Service agent who was assigned to the protective detail of Jill Biden. The filing also says that one of the defendants, Arian Taherzada, lent what was purported to be a government vehicle to the wife of that Secret Service agent, who was not identified by name, and that Taherzada also provided her with a generator. The Secret Service agent lived in a Washington apartment building on the floor below Taherzada's apartment, according to the filing, which was written by an FBI agent in support of the criminal complaint against Taherzada and his 35-year-old co-defendant, Haider Ali. Ali allegedly told witnesses in the case that he had connections to ISI, which is the Pakistani intelligence agency. Taherzada also allegedly gave members of the Secret Service and an employee of the Department of Homeland Security, quote, rent-free apartments with a total yearly rent of $40,000 per apartment. iPhones, surveillance systems, a drone, a flat screen TV, a case for storing an assault rifle, a rifle, a generator, and law enforcement paraphernalia. One of those agents, as I mentioned before, was assigned to protect the White House as part of the Secret Service's uniform division, and that agent lived rent-free in a 3-bedroom apartment provided by Taherzada at the same complex, which said the residents normally would rent for more than $48,000 annually. Taherzada told the agent that a division of Department of Homeland Security, quote, had approved extra rooms as part of his operation, and that agent could live in one of them for free. The investigation confirmed that there are no such DHS operations and that it authorized no such expense. Taherzada and Ali were arrested on Wednesday during a raid on the building in the southeast section of D.C. on a charge of, quote, false impersonation of a federal officer. The men, who are both U.S. citizens, were speaking with an attorney at the time of their arrest, according to a statement made at a court hearing on Thursday. Prosecutors said they appeared to have control of 5 apartments in the complex, 2 of which they lived in, and that investigators found a drone, handguns, ammunition, bulletproof body armor, gas masks, zip ties, handheld radios, body cameras, binoculars, a high-powered telescope, and 4 laptop computers when they searched the defendants' apartments. They also found DHS patches and training manuals, components of disassembled rifles, scopes for weapons, and a list of every resident in the apartment complex. Both men separately appeared in federal court in Washington yesterday via a phone hookup and were ordered held in jail pending a detention hearing on Friday. Assistant U.S. Attorney Joshua Rothstein, in asking a judge to hold the men, said the men are a danger to the community and a flight risk, citing their international travel in the past and the presence of visas for Pakistan and Iran in their passports. Rothstein said additional charges of conspiracy could be lodged against the men, both of whom have asked for court-appointed lawyers. 4 members of the Secret Service have been placed on administrative leave, pending further investigation. The Secret Service is conducting an internal review of the interactions between the 4 agents that were placed on leave and the 2 defendants. Quote, we are looking into our people in terms of how their social circles collided, said one of 2 sources who confirmed that review. We are only 72 hours into this, and there's no sign of nefarious activity. The FBI said in an affidavit that both men, from as early as February of 2020 until their arrest, pretended to be agents working for DHS, and that they carried insignias and firearms used by federal agents as part of that deception. The affidavit said the men did this to ingratiate themselves with members of federal law enforcement and the defense community. Now, you must be asking yourself, well, okay, if they were able to do this for this long, how did they end up getting caught? So apparently, a postal worker got into it said a U.S. postal inspector responded to the apartment complex to investigate an alleged assault on a letter carrier. So there was somebody that was trying to deliver the mail, and there was an altercation. And apparently, both of these individuals represented themselves as Department of Homeland Security special agents or whatever. So there's like this. This story is fucking nuts. 2 years these guys impersonated DHS officers to the point where they were allowing Secret Service agents to live freely in apartments so the question is, where did the money come from? Who provided the funds for all of the weaponry? For how did they acquire? Apparently, both of these guys are US citizens. The real estate, who paid? So if you do the math on that, right, there's 40 grand. So you're looking at $200,000 a year for these apartments. Who was footing the bill for that? Interesting one to watch here. Keep a lookout. Today's hearing will be interesting. Saudi-backed Yemeni President Abd Rabu Mansour Hadi on Thursday ceded power to a council whose members form the core of an anti-Houthi alliance as Saudi Arabia looks to exit a costly war that has strained Washington's ties with Gulf allies. The war is a multifaceted one, and Saudi Arabia has struggled to hold together Yemeni factions under the military alliance assembled to fight the Iran-aligned Houthis. Political infighting also complicates UN-led efforts to revive negotiations to end the war. This move aims to unify anti-Houthi ranks by giving more parties a say and sidelining divisive figures. Hadi and his dismissed deputy, a top general who in the past fought both the Houthis and southern separatists, Hadi, who failed to build a power base of his own, has been in exile in Saudi Arabia since 2015, and his government has contended with separatists for control of the south while the Houthis control most populated areas of Yemen. Hadi's government has been criticized by coalition partner the United Arab Emirates, which largely ended its presence in Yemen in 2019 but holds sway through local militias. It remains to be seen whether the myriad factions, including the Houthis, can put aside their own agendas and mistrust to enter the political negotiations that have been stalled since late 2018. So the big question is, why now? I would think it would be obvious, but as I've stated multiple times on the show, Saudi Arabia is fatigued by a costly war that has been in a military stalemate for years and is a sore point with the Biden administration, which recalibrated ties with Riyadh due to the 2018 murder of Jamal Khashoggi. In addition to that, violence recently spiraled with intense Houthi missile strikes and drone strikes on Saudi oil facilities and assaults against the UAE. This followed big gains by the Houthis in energy-rich Marib last year. Coalition airstrikes on Yemen ramped up in response. The situation remains fragile, and it is not clear whether the warring sides will opt for talks or try to secure military gains ahead of any negotiations, jeopardizing a rare 2-month truce brokered by the United Nations that began on Saturday for Ramadan. The Houthis have been trying since last year to take full control of Marib, the government's last stronghold in North Yemen and home to major gas and oil resources. It's also uncertain whether the new council will be able to maintain cohesion given Yemen's fractious history. The UN envoy is still pressing for a permanent ceasefire and inclusive talks to end the conflict, which has killed tens of thousands, pushed millions into hunger, and left 80% of the population, some 30 million, reliant on aid. The U.S. is experiencing a new surge of Ukrainian refugees on the southern border, with over 2,000 arrivals in the last 10 days. The sharp uptick in Ukrainian migrants, who are joining those from other countries around the world, poses an immediate challenge for Border Patrol agents and officials. And they're considering an expecting flood of activity once Title 42 is lifted at the end of May. The new arrivals also highlight the racial inequity at the border, where European migrants are treated seemingly more favorably than those from other regions. Just a week ago, only 50 Ukrainian refugees had found their way to the Mexican border city of Tijuana. But soon thereafter, that number surged to 500, then 1,200. A makeshift encampment was built, and dozens of Russian speaking volunteers, religious organizations, and private groups stepped in to offer food, shelter, and medical care to migrants figuring out their next move. Much of the issue stems from the U.S.'s promise to keep, or to accept, not to keep, 100,000 refugees from Ukraine, without detailing how it was going to do so. So instead, those families with friends and family in the United States paid thousands of dollars to just travel to Mexico, where they can enter sans visa. The government, quote, made an announcement and had no program in place. Shocker. Coming out of this administration, I can't imagine that happening. Meanwhile, outside experts are wondering why Ukrainian migrants get priority over those from Central America and elsewhere. Biden's decision to welcome Ukrainian refugees seeking safety in the United States is the right thing to do. But there's no way to look at what's happening at the southern border other than along racial lines. Okay, so just a quick job news for you guys looking for something, job security, something maybe a little bit different. Walmart said yesterday it is raising pay for long haul truck drivers and launching a new program to train the next generation as it seeks the staffing it relies on to replenish store shelves and warehouses across the country. The retailer said truck drivers will now make between $95,000 and $110,000 in their first year with Walmart. The company did not provide the current salary range for a new truck driver, but said that they have made an average of $87,500 in their first year. Walmart has also started a 12-week program in Sanger, Texas, and Dover, Delaware, where people can earn a commercial driver's license and join Walmart's fleets. It will cover the cost of earning a license, which can usually run between $4,000 and $5,000. So I thought that was really cool. Wanted to mention that to you guys. Anybody who's in the Texas and Delaware area, it's a program that's available to you guys, or if you're willing to relocate. The Alabama House of Representatives voted 66 to 28 for legislation making it a felony, punishable by up to 10 years in prison, for a doctor to prescribe puberty blockers or hormones or perform surgery to aid in gender transition for people under the age of 19. The bill now goes to Republican Governor Kay Ivey for her signature as Alabama becomes the latest red state to promote legislation and policies aimed at trans youth. Ivey has not yet indicated whether or not she will sign it. The bill would also require school counselors, nurses, and others to tell parents if a child discloses they believe they are transgender. The Alabama Senate advanced separate legislation Thursday related to public school bathrooms and discussions of gender and sexual identity in early grades. Senators voted 26 to 5 to approve legislation mandating that K through 12 students can only use multi-person bathrooms and locker rooms that correspond with the gender on their original birth certificate, rather than their current gender identity. Republicans in the Senate also added language similar to the law that was just passed in Florida. The Alabama language would prohibit classroom instruction or discussion on sexual orientation or gender identity for students in kindergarten through 5th grade. The Alabama proposal goes further than Florida's law, which includes grades K through 3. That is your Thursday edition. Oh, no, just kidding. It's Friday. It's your Friday edition of Everything Yesterday This Morning. I love you guys. I hope you have an awesome weekend. As always, Friday night, we will be doing our live Liberty Happy Hour. I hope you will join us, and I hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday. You guys take care.